Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Abhimanu IAS. So, friends, today uh, we shall be discussing something about law optional because your prelims is over now, and many of you must be expecting a good result and coming out with flying colors and for mails. And even those who are aiming for next year UPSC, they are also supposed to prepare law optional. I mean, this optional, or for that matter, any optional, well in advance, because uh, after prelims, the time gap is very less, which is not possible for anyone to complete any optional subject afresh. So therefore, at Abhimanyu, we are planning to launch law optional and other optionals with effect from 12th June. And in that context, I, uh, you know, uh, shall be taking law optional. And in that regard, it is my duty to introduce to the future aspirants about the nature of law optional, its interface with the other subjects of general studies, and advantages of keeping law optional for UPSC. Right. So before do we dwell upon the advantages of taking law optional, let me draw your attention to the syllabus of law optional. So we already know that just like other optionals, law optional also comprises of two papers. Let me write here law optional. Two papers. So we can divide it to paper 1 and paper 2. In paper 1, we have two important components which are very scoring and very interesting in fact. Right. I shall be coming upon this aspect, that how does it facilitate the basics of general studies, and how will it impact your general studies preparation. Let me focus upon the paper 1, that is law optional, and it comprises of two important components. I will write here. One is called as constitutional law, other is called as international law. Right. So paper 1 has only two components: constitutional law, which has direct bearing on your Indian polity path, with a minor difference, although this remains the fact that the approach which you require for approaching an optional is different from the approach which you are supposed to carry on while preparing for general studies. But anyway, constitutional law and international law, two important components, and equally carries the weightage. अगर 250 मार्क्स का ये पेपर 1 है, इसमें दोनों के ऑलमोस्ट सेम क्वेश्चंस आपको पूछे जाते हैं. Constitutional law is very interesting because you have otherwise to prepare for Indian polity part, or Indian polity is nothing, is all about the study of constitution. Okay, the only difference is that here we are discussing in the sense of case laws, and Indian polity we are not directly concerned with case laws, but फिर भी हमें जुडिशरी की इंपॉर्टेंट जजमेंट्स पता होनी चाहिए. तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन लॉ में हम इस तरीके से लॉ ऑप्शनल को अप्रोच करते हैं विद सुप्रीम कोर्ट्स लैंडमार्क जजमेंट्स, राइट, because you are otherwise required to cite important case laws, even though you are not asked to mention, because it must look like a law optional answer when you write optional questions or answers in mails, right? So this is constitutional law. Then international law, it also has direct bearing on your international relations, because this international law is the base of your international relations. So paper 2 का पूरा पार्ट एक्चुअली ये कवर करता है, ठीक है, international law, right? In international law, we are discussing about the nature of international law and the sources of international law, and then various facets of state recognition, state succession, United Nations, right? The various treaties and international organizations right, which are responsible for making a kind of system of governance, right, to create an order. So this is the gamut of international law. Quite interesting, and it definitely increases your conceptual base when it comes to international relations of gender study. Coming to paper 2 is also very, very concise and very interesting. In paper 2, we have the components like the most important components जो हम discuss कर रहे हैं, that is called as, जैसे जिसको हम PNS कहेंगे आज की डेट में, earlier आप इसको IPC भी कह सकते हैं, Indian Penal Code, right? Selective topics and very, very interesting topics like that exceptions to criminal liability, then offenses related to body, offenses property, right? Whatever is covered under IPC, that shall be covered in one of the components of paper 2, that is called as BNS. आज की डेट में हम उसको BNS कहते हैं, right? And only the minor difference is that only sections are here and there, and number of sections of IPC have also been reduced. Otherwise, the ingredients of an offense remains the same. तो आपने IPC को ही लेके चलना है. Second important component जो पेपर 2 का है, that is called as contract. आप इसको mercantile law, I'll be writing here mercantile law. Wherein we shall be studying about Indian Contract Act, right? All essential elements of a contract, valid contracts, right? Void contracts, then performance of the contract, right? Capacity of the parties to make a contract, right? Whatever we have studied in our last schools, right? इस सब्जेक्ट में वही हम कवर करते हैं मर्केंटाइल लॉ. बट मर्केंटाइल लॉ में अगर हम दूसरे कंपोनेंट की बात करें तो इसमें कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आ गया, right? Some portion of SOGA आ गया, सेल्स ऑफ गुड्स एक्ट, SOGA, ठीक है? Only some specific portions, not the entire SOGA which is required for judiciary preparation. कुछ ही component है like, ठीक है, formation of sales of contract, assumptions of sales of contract, performance of sales of contract, ठीक है, right? Only that. And then we have some portion of partnership. Only some portion, not entire partnership, only formation of a partnership and dissolution of a partnership, right? Capacity of the parties, that's all. Then another important component in paper 2, other than mercantile law, okay, we shall be having torts, tortious liability. Every one of us have studied in a law school. So torts में हम basic concepts of tortious liability, right? Then basic concepts related to damages. Then we have the basic rules related to tortious liability like injurious sign deminum and deminum sign injuria. This is all. And then in paper 2 we have an important component that is called as contemporary legal developments. ठीक है, तो मैं इसको शॉर्ट में लिखूँ कंटेम्प्रेरी लीगल डेवलपमेंट्स. कंटेम्प्रेरी लीगल डेवलपमेंट्स में वी आर स्टडिंग एक्चुअली द various important legislations which have transformed the landscape of India, like RTI Act, like IT Act, Information Technology Act, right? Public interest litigation, contemporary developments in the law domain, right? Some of the examples that I have already mentioned, like RTI, public interest invention of public interest litigation, IT Act, okay, a bit of cyber law, right? This all is subsumed under paper 2. So in paper 2 we have two important components, and in paper 1 we have two important components. In paper 2 we have DNS, mercantile law, wherein we shall be having contract, SOGA, and bit of partnership, torts, and contemporary legal developments. This is all covered under law optional. 250 marks each. 250 marks each. So this is the brief introduction about law optional, its framework and curriculum और syllabus पर. अब आते हैं कि law optional आपको क्यों रखना चाहिए. तो इसके कुछ advantages हैं. As and when we may try law optional with other optional subjects. Right. The first and foremost advantage that we have, I have already discussed, that it has a close connection with general study, okay, especially paper 2. Okay, I have already mentioned that when it comes to paper 1, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ, इंटरनेशनल लॉ, ये हमारे जीएस के जनरल स्टडीज़ का पेपर 2 जो है, जिसको हम इंडियन पॉलिटी, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन गवर्नेंस या आईआर कहते हैं, उसके साथ इसका बहुत ही क्लोज कनेक्शन, ठीक है। एंड और इनकी डेप्थ जो आपको लॉ ऑप्शनल में मिलेगी, दैट इज डेफिनेटली गोइंग टू carry the day when you write general studies answer. Although approach is different, every subject has interface somehow with the general studies. Approach is different, but then you will be consolidating your knowledge in general studies when you shall be having the depth of constitutional law and depth of international law. Both subjects will have a great bearing on, right? तो इस तरीके से आप पेपर 1 को उसके साथ, तो एक तो इंटरफेस आ गई। नंबर 2 जो सबसे बड़ी एडवांटेज आपकी ये कह सकते हो, विजा वी व्हेन यू कंपेयर लॉ एज एन ऑप्शनल विद फॉर यूपीएससी विद जुडिशरी प्रिपरेशन। लॉ ऑप्शनल में ओनली सब्सटेंटिव लॉ इज प्रिस्क्राइब्ड, नॉट प्रोसीजरल लॉ। सब्सटेंटिव लॉ में जैसे हम ये बात कर रहे हैं कि वी हैव बीएनएस, वी हैव टॉर्ट्स, वी हैव कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, toga and some portion of partnership also. These are all substantive law. In judiciary, you are supposed to master procedural law along with substantive law, of course, but procedural law पे आपकी command काफ़ी अच्छी होनी चाहिए, like CPC, CRPC, which is called as BNSS now, right? And, but then other laws which are applicable day-to-day legal practice, like Basic Relief Act, then Limitation Act and so on. Okay, but here in paper 2 जैसे हमने देख रहे हैं, we are not supposed to touch upon any facet of procedural law, only substantive law. नंबर 3, जब आपका इसके ऊपर अच्छे कमांड होगी लॉ ऑप्शनल पे, तो यू कैन वेरी वेल राइट एक्टिव एसेस। तो आप ऐसे राइटिंग में भी आपकी काफ़ी एक्सपर्टीज बनेगी, बिकॉज द ब्रेड्थ ऑफ नॉलेज, द होराइजन दैट यू विल enhance while studying law optional is definitely going to contribute writing effective essay. Exactly. And number 4, instead of attempting an entirely new optional, you are preparing for UPSC, it is better to go with law optional because the same you have studied in your law schools or colleges. तो वही syllabus जो आपने law schools में पढ़ा है, and that's why I'm recommending specially law optional to those who are already studying in a law school or who have already done their LLB from any law school for that matter. तो जो आपने लॉ स्कूल में पढ़ा था वही आपने यहीं पढ़ना है with a different approach, with different analysis, right? But nothing would be alien to you. आपके लिए कोई भी चीज़ नहीं होगी जब आप लॉ ऑप्शनल में पढ़ेंगे, बिकॉज आपने हर चीज़ अपने लॉ सिलेबस में पढ़ा है, अपने लॉ डिग्री में पढ़ा है। तो ये एक यूनिक एडवांटेज है, राइट? इसलिए एंड लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट, द सिलेबस इज आल्सो वेरी कंसाइज, बिकॉज इसमें प्रोसीजरल लॉ नहीं है। सिलेबस इज वेरी कंसाइज, इट कैन ईजिली बी एस्ड विद इन मैक्सिमम 4 months। ठीक है, 3 से 4 महीने के बीच में ये सिलेबस पूरा कवर हो जाता है और अच्छे तरीके से कवर। एंड द एडवांटेज ऑफ लॉ ऑप्शनल इज it is very very scoring, because right, you are supposed to give apt answers according to the questions, according to the demand of the questions, right? तो आपने अच्छे केस लॉ से जस्टिफाई कर दिया जो रेलिवेंट केस लॉ है, राइट? और उस क्वेश्चन या जो भी चीज़ पूछे उसके इंग्रेडिएंट्स लिख दिए तो आपका काम बन गया। तो इट इज़ वेरी वेरी, हैव सीन द टॉपर्स who have scored very good ranks PSC with law optional. Even last year we have Rathod from 10K, right? She is graduate from LU Srinagar with 7th rank. She has scored tremendously well in law optional, because the entire law optional syllabus has already been covered by her vision, and at the same time, right, being very scoring in nature, जो मैंने आपको बताया, right, he had scored brilliant rank of 7 ऑल इंडिया। इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आपको लॉ ऑप्शनल के बारे में सिलेबस क्या है, वाई यू शुड ऑप्ट लॉ ऑप्शनल, टाइम ड्यूरेशन कितनी है, और क्या एडवांटेजेस हैं लॉ ऑप्शनल की, आपको कैसे हेल्प करेगा जनरल। तो दिस इज फ्रॉम माई साइड, especially with respect to law optional, and tied to this UPSC, let's say next year, the right time that shall join any optional for that matter, but I was discussing only from the viewpoint of my subject. See you soon. Till then, bye bye. Thank you so much.